Oh, hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm in my garage, out here in at the house. I've got two separate garages, a two-car garage where we keep our cars, and this garage here, where I do a lot of work and different things. And I'm thinking I'm going to use it to do a little bit of video. And I did a video out here, at least one video out here where I was working on my Jeep. But in this particular video, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating a new segment. All right, a segment, we'll do it maybe once a month, once every 2 or 3 months, just called, we'll call it something, I don't know what, how about garage update, or update garage, whatever, something like that. But and basically we'll do, instead of going out and shooting images, we'll sit here and we'll talk about, different things that are going on, or different questions I get asked, different things going on in the industry, just spend a few minutes talking about it. Try not to rant too much, but just do a simple vlog, that way. So I think for the first one, what we're going to do here is going to try to address a question I got here in the last couple weeks. And that was, how do I compare or does the 12 to 40 2.8 Pro compare to my 12 to 45 F4 Pro? All right. And I'm lucky enough to have used both. So I can speak pretty favorably one way or the other. And the quick summary is they're both fantastic. All right. As a matter of fact, I think that's in the answer I put, to the person's question. They're both fantastic. There's nothing good or bad about either one. I mean, they each have little things here and there that, depending on your style or depending on you might like, you might not like. But what I think I'll do here, first of all, just so you get an idea of it, I'm going to put an image in here that I took back in 2014 on the Olympus EM1, the original EM1 16 megapixel camera, all right, with the 12 to 40 2.8 on it, of what's called Running Eagle Falls in Glacier National Park in the Two Medicines area. So let's throw that in here so you can look at it. And as you can tell, I mean, that image is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good, especially early on in my career with Olympus, but I certainly enjoyed that lens. I bought that lens right from the very beginning, and I absolutely found nothing really terrible about it other than something I mentioned in a previous video, which is the only negative I find of the f2.8 versus the f4, other than aperture. Granted, this is an f4, the other is f2.8, so it works a little bit better in lower light. And on this particular lens, I don't know how well you can see this on this camera, right? This is the f4, right? There's no autofocus clutch or manual focus clutch. All right, this is the focus ring, and you have to adjust the camera to allow you to use it. Wherein on the f2.8 lens, this, just like on my 300 f4 or my 40 to 150 2.8, you pull this back and it disengages autofocus, and now you're in manual focus, which, if you want to shoot manual focus, it's a quick way to get there, right, and a big plus. But I found it to be a negative because I kept messing up, as I have with a couple of my other lenses, not realizing I was in manual focus and couldn't understand why I wasn't in autofocus, and I missed shots. And I think I've shown an example of that in the past. All right, not that it's a terrible issue, but it's a pain, and that's really the only difference. Other than that, they're both superb. The glass is great. The F4 is a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, a little bit less expensive. The F2.8 a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, but you get performs a little better in lower light. That's really, to me, the only real differences. But certainly, both are fantastic. Use either one, you're not going to be upset. Which one do I prefer? It's a good question. My shooting style, I like shooting at f2.8. I'm not going to kid anybody, but I also don't like that manual clutch. But at some point I may go, and switch this out and go to the 2.8 just because I like 2.8 lenses. That doesn't mean you have to use it. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with this. This thing is, again, incredibly good glass. It's sharp. There's nothing to worry about there. It's weather sealed. It's everything you want it to be. And that's why I haven't really done anything with it so far. It's because it does what I need for what I'm trying to shoot. It's just, personally, I like the 2.8, but that doesn't mean I need it. So I highly, recommend either one. It doesn't really matter. All right. Whatever fits your budget, whatever fits your style, use it. You won't be upset. All right. You're going to be happy with either one. And that's really my take on it. All right. So now, where do we go from here? All right, so what I want to bring up here is a couple things. All right, One thing I notice in my videos is the videos I do reviews of product on, or talk about products or my opinion on things, get 10 times the views of any of my vacation travel type vlogs, or any of my, just going out and shooting in the morning, kind of share, what it's like to get out and shoot, so it's a question. All right, should I focus more on those? Is that really what you guys want? Is more of, gear reviews, or, opinions on cameras, or, lenses, those kind of things? Or, do you want me to continue to do some of the, kind of mix it up like I've been trying to do, and spend some time just out showing you different areas where I go out and photograph, and some of the things I do? I'd really like some comments to tell me, all right, what you think, what you'd like to see. Now, one of the things I'm planning on doing, or been thinking about doing, is taking the adventure Jeep, this fall, and hitting the road for a couple of days. I was thinking about going to Watkins Glen, hopefully here and capturing some fall colors, maybe spend the night actually sleeping in the Jeep, and just trying to capture for a day or two some images in Watkins Glen. Also want to take the Jeep and go down to, Red River Gorge. As I said earlier, and when I was there and a few videos ago, it would be a great place in the fall. What I'd really like to do is go down to Chimney Top Rock, shoot sunrise or sunset, and maybe even see if I can capture the Milky Way, at night, again, during the fall colors, those kind of things. It's something, again, take the Jeep, spend the night in the Jeep, do that kind of stuff, kind of an off-road adventure. Then if there's a way to get to it, I'd also like to go down to Cataloochee Valley. We had that planned last year, and because of the hurricane and the road being destroyed, we weren't able to get in there, and it's really a struggle today because Interstate 40 is still one lane, and it's washed out a couple times while they've been trying to rebuild it. The only other way is you got to cross over, into Cherokee from Gatlinburg, and last night that road washed out, so it's really hard to get to it. So I'd like to go do that. I may not be able to do it. So another alternative would be, I haven't done it in a few years, and I don't think I've ever made a video from there, but I'd like to do the hike along Porter Creek to Fern Branch Falls and take some images there in the fall, and the fall color. It's just another possibility. So something I'm thinking about doing. So I'd like to know, how do you folks feel about it? You think those would be some good options? You got any other recommendations, things you'd like to see? Would you like me to do videos like that where you take the adventure Jeep, go out, spend the night in the Jeep, try to capture, sunrise or sunset, or, again, I got to try to get into astrophotography and do some things like that, and certainly like some comments on that, and some opinions. All right. The only other thing I guess I have here is I just want to take another minute and, talk about, one lens I've been thinking about, one lens I'd love to have, but I just can't seem to justify, and I'd love to know what people think. I've got the 40 to 150 and I got the 300 f4, but I'd really, always intrigued by the 150 to 400. It's, the f4.5, the big white lens, it's $7,500, which I'd buy it used. I wouldn't buy it new, but I keep trying to justify in my head, options to use that. Guido Vandewater over in the Netherlands uses it a lot for landscapes, and I'll put a link to his channel, which I've mentioned him several times. I'll put a link to his channel in, here or in the description below, so you can, so if you want to go check out his stuff, you can do it. But he uses that lens a lot for landscapes, and I'm just struggling to find a need for it, but I would certainly love to have it. So I'd like some opinions. What do you guys think? Is it something I should do? Is it something you'd like to see? Is it something that maybe rent it and try it? I don't know, but it's certainly sitting there in my, something I keep thinking about, something I keep wanting to do, but I keep putting off just because the expense is high, and I just can't seem to come up with, at least at this point, enough opportunities to use it where I feel it's justified. The lenses I have today work great for 99% of what I do, and I really don't see a need to change it. All right, so again, let me know what you think, and throw any other comment down there where, you may, something you may see me do. I'm going to stop rambling. I'll end the video. All right, so see, for some reason my video camera shut off, so I will, come back in here, and not sure exactly where it cut off, but, just gonna, say this is garage video number 1, and we will, you know, continue to do a few of these here and there. And again, if you don't want me to do them, let me know. And if you do like it, let me know, you know, and we'll continue to add it, you know. But I don't want to ramble anymore. So what I will say is thanks everybody for, you know, liking, subscribing, sharing. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. You know, till we see you again, stay safe.